Hello everyone, this is Shiji Mohan here, and in this video I'm going to take you through a remarkable piece of literature. Well, this is not just a work of criticism but more than that. I'm talking about an apology for poetry written by the Renaissance writer Sir Philip Sidney, and this is also titled A Defense of Poesy. Well, this is actually a rejoinder or a reply to Stephen Gossen's controversial pamphlet, The School of Abuse, and that was published in the year 1579, and an apology was printed in 1595. Now, let's understand why Stephen Gossen's work, The School of Abuse, was considered controversial, why it was polemical. First of all, Stephen Gossen was a Puritan, and you all know that Puritans were against all forms of art like poetry, drama, and so on. They claimed that poets corrupt people, they demoralize society, and since Gossen was a Puritan, naturally he followed this Puritan views. And in his pamphlet, he attacked poetry. And Sidney countered this attack through his critical work, An Apology for Poetry. Now, Gossen leveled 4 charges against poetry, which we'll discuss after a while. But first, let's check the essay, An Apology for Poetry. Now, Sidney begins this essay with a reference to Pugliano, a horse trainer or a stable master, and how Pugliano used to praise horses and the art of horse riding or horsemanship. And Sidney here says that if horsemanship or the art of horse riding deserves such praise and eulogy, then poetry also deserves such glorification and appreciation. And this is how Sidney justifies his own praise of poetry. Sidney further says that poetry was disrespected during his period. Sidney was an Elizabethan writer, and it was a period when poets and poetry were attacked. Sidney even says his contemporaries do not appreciate poetry. Instead, they consider poetry worthless. And since poetry has fallen into the hands of those who do not value it, it should be defended. And this is why Sidney makes an attempt to restore poetry to its rightful place, to raise poetry to a higher level. Now, Sidney brings forward a few positive aspects of poetry to prove that poetry is supreme, it is superior to all forms of art. So first he talks about the antiquity of poetry, that poetry is the earliest form of composition. It existed even before all other branches of knowledge. Here Sidney emphasizes how ancient poetry is, how old this art is. Now Sidney points out the universality of poetry, how poetry flourished in different countries, including uncivilized countries, and that poetry is accepted by all generations alike. Next he talks about the reverence to poetry, how poetry is honored by people across the world. Now he says that Greeks call them maker or creator, and Romans call them Vates. Vates means prophet or diviner or foreseer. And if you look at all these words like prophet, diviner, foreseer, maker, creator, all these words are synonymous to God. They are equal to God. And Sidney here says that Greco-Romans honored poets. Now let's move on to the definition of poetry given by Sidney. According to Sidney, poetry is an art of imitation, and it has a specific purpose, that is to teach and delight, to instruct people, and they derive pleasure out of it, which means poetry is an art of imitation and its aim is to teach and delight. That means delightful instruction. But that's not over. Sidney adds that poetry moves men to noble action. What does it mean by that? That means poetry has the power to influence the mind of readers. For example, when we read poetry, the noble characters and their virtuous deeds will influence our mind, and we tend to perform such virtuous deeds in our lives as well. So this is how poetry moved the mind of the readers, that is by representing ideal characters, and this is how poetry lead men to virtuous deeds. Now Sidney establishes superiority of poet over historian and philosopher. He says that poetry is superior to history and philosophy. First, he exposes the shortcomings of history and philosophy. He says that history narrates what has already happened in the past. It has nothing to do with the present. It deals with the fact. And he says philosophy teaches virtue through definitions and doctrines, and it is too difficult to understand. And poetry, on the other hand, do not have any such restrictions. Through imagination, poet can transcend time. He is not tied up with present, past or future, and he is not tied up with a particular subject. So it deals with universal rather than particular. Now it's time to talk about the 4 objections raised by Stephen Gosson in his pamphlet. First, poetry is a waste of time. Second, it is a mother of lies, the nurse of abuse, and Plato had rightly banished poets from his ideal commonwealth. Now, let's understand how Sidney disposes of the objections raised against poetry one by one. First objection is that poetry is a waste of time, and Sidney refutes the charge by saying that poetry is the noblest kind of learning because it teaches virtue and thereby moves men to noble actions, which we have discussed earlier. And there is no other branch of learning which can perform these 2 functions more effectively than poetry. Hence, how can poetry be a waste of time? Now, based on the second charge that poetry is a mother of lies, Sidney says that a poet does not lie because he never affirms or declares that whatever he says is true, because it's all about fiction. It is imagination. Hence, a poet cannot be accused of telling lie. Now over to the third charge made by Gosson, that it is nurse of abuse. So Gosson accused poetry of corrupting people and leading them to vices or sinful actions. And Sidney refutes this charge by saying that poetry cannot be blamed if a poet misused it. It is a fault of poets. If poetry reaches the wrong hands, it will be misused. Poetry itself cannot corrupt people or society. Now, moving on to the fourth charge or the final accusation made by Gosson against poetry, that Plato had rightly banished poets from his ideal world. And this is the most challenging one because Plato was a great philosopher and he could not be wrong. And Sidney here countered by saying that Plato did not banish poets and poetry, but he banished the misuse or abuse of poetry. And that's all about the critical work of Sir Philip Sidney, An Apology for Poetry. Thanks for your attention.